Well, hello, everybody. My name is Roger Durling. I'm the executive director of the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, and I'm deeply honored to have with us Tony Award-winning actress Anika Noni Rose and Academy Award-winning Forrest Whitaker and their new film, Jingle Jangle. Los Angeles Times raves, saying that writer-director David E. Tolbert's marvelous, groundbreaking musical fantasy Jingle Jangle, A Christmas Journey, stands to join the ranks of holiday movie classics. Welcome, both of you. And I'll jump right in and ask Anika, the LA Times refers to what I was just talking to you a second ago before we went on air, that now we have Jingle Jangle joining the rank of holiday movie classics, and and David in this movie shows so much inclusivity. and and what was it like for you to be participating in this film?
Well, it was fantastic. And I'm always fighting for inclusivity in the arts, but particularly in children's mediums when we're speaking to children. You know, as a Latin man, as I do, as a Black woman, what it is to be the brown face watching something and you don't exist in that world. And I think that often when we're kids, we're not thinking about it until we're thinking about it. You know what I mean? We're having a great time, we're enjoying it, but there's still, it's not until you see yourself somewhere and you have that, ah, there I am feeling that maybe you realized I haven't been anywhere. I haven't seen myself anywhere. And so it's such a gift to children when we include as opposed to exclude, especially in a world of fantasy, because that's really where kids live. And you exclude them from fantasy, you're excluding them from so much more than just 90 minutes of your time. It sort of negates um, their own fantasy space in some ways. So I think it's really very important, and I think it's a beautiful and easy thing to do, particularly in a space of fantasy and magic. And I think that David did a wonderful job showing, just how easy that can be. It's not the focal point of the film. The focal point of the film is family and what happens within families and love and how love changes and how we have to hold on to it and fight for it, and magic and how magic moves through our lives and how important that is. But the whole time you're watching a family full of brown faces and they are just
Mhm.
living in their space and in their joy or their sadness or their exploration of that moment. And I think that, it's a long time deserved space to be able to live where we're just living and not living with an issue or not
Mhm.
living as the issue, but living and celebrating and
Well, and I think it's amazing that now you have Jingle Jangle and your role in that, Anika. And prior to that, you had the Princess and the Frog. I mean, you're basically busting down doors, with your role in entertaining young kids.
thank you. I really appreciate that. And each of those roles is very, very important to me. I love little kids. I love them. They make me laugh. I think they are funny. I think they are poignant. They can see things sometimes that we haven't even thought of or don't see. And it's really important to me to speak to them,
Hmm.
to let them know that they are important voices and important hearts as the world
Hmm.
moves forward. I think so often little kids feel like nobody sees them or nobody hears them or doesn't want to. And I want to. I
Yeah.
love
Uh,
them.
Forrest, um, tell tell me what attracted you to Veronica's Jangle. I've seen it a couple of times, as I mentioned, and it's quite a demanding role. I mean, it's got a
Yeah.
Shakespearean gravitas to it, but you get to sing, and you also show off your comic timing. Tell us about attraction to Geronica's?
Well, when David Talbot he talked to me about playing the part, I was excited because he kind of wanted to redefine again the sort of classic character that we have in these type of fantasy children's movies and stuff. But I think just the journey itself, just Veronica's Jangle, this man who like believed in magic, who believed in possibility, and who like had a family that was surrounded by it, and then we watch him these things are stolen from him and taken away by his assistant,
Mhm.
and how he loses his life and his family, and then his granddaughter comes back into his life, and I think reminds him about love again, joy again, and reintroduces him to his daughter who he's lost, which is probably one of the biggest losses that he's ever had. And so he finds that. And I thought that theme of being able to refine yourself, to be able to rise up from difficulties and stuff, and to confront them and actually find them and find joy again was something special to get to play. And then it was really challenging because the character went through so many different levels of, of loss and of pain and of trying to learn how to live again. And it's a musical, so I got a chance to sing. I hadn't got a chance to do that in this kind of way before, um, and then to get to play like with comedy and with, as you said, with comedy and with music, and I don't always get a chance. It was a big challenge for me.
Yeah.
On a story that I thought could be really special if it all connected in, and everyone in the movie is so strong. The actors and actresses are so great, and so hopefully by the time you see me and my daughter, our Anika, come together, um, you feel like you're coming back together too, and you feel a sort of joy and a warmth uh, and belief again, and no matter what's going on, especially during these weird times, like difficult times of the pandemic and social injustice and social unrest, that you feel like, well, it's possible. And I think that's why they wrote that song that Madeline sings, you know,
Hmm.
about things being possible. So it was a great opportunity.
Yeah. Anika, I your role, you know, and most everybody who's listening to this has seen the movie by now. You come in late, but it's unforgettable when you come into the scene. And I was struck by all the levels of emotion that in a very limited amount of time you have to convey. I mean, there is the fear, trepidation of meeting your father again. There's a sense of hurt that you convey in the film as well about what your father did to you. And then also there's this incredible sense of hope that you convey in very, as I said, very short period of time. Was that all that gamut of emotions fun to work on, or a big challenge for you?
I think it's both of those things. I think anytime you have a challenge, which is a worthy challenge, it's fun.
Mm.
Um, and that is a worthy challenge, to have an arc in such a small space. But I don't think that I thought about it as a small space when I was doing it. Because I don't really ever think about when I'm doing a role, well, how big is it, or how many pages am I doing, so and so. What's most important to me is that with what I have, I am able to give something in completion. And I thought
Mm,
that, the song is so beautifully written. And the fact that I was able to really attack it and come to it from a full throttle space, as opposed to having to keep her in the space of the reserved lady who you see in the beginning of the film, because reserved ladies also have deep, heavy, strong feelings, and it's a mistake to keep them in that one space. So being able to do that song allowed me to really give this woman the power of I feel like I'm singing from my womb in that song, and I think that's the power that is being shown in this woman. And you get to see her hurt, and you get to see her anger, and you get to see her fear, and you get to see hope is so important in this film, but also in life and in this year 2020. The
yeah.
fact that we're able to get to hope. And, you know, when we filmed the movie, we didn't know 2020 was coming or that it was coming the way it was coming. But to be able to get to hope, I think, is the most important part of what happens in my journey. Otherwise, you're stuck. You're stuck. And that is the thing that allows you to find the beauty and the catharsis of it. That this woman you see is an adult woman. She has raised her own child, but she's coming back to her father as an adult who still has a broken child sitting inside of herself. And how often we all have had that feeling. When you go home, doesn't matter how old you are, when you go home, when you're with your parents, you turn into the person you were when you left that house, the kid that you were when you left the house. That's what happens. And so I think that I'm dealing with that. Forrest is dealing with his own hurts as Jeronica's, and how we can bridge that space. And I'm just so grateful that we were allowed to do so, and that my character was allowed to do that and not stay in that space of hurt, because that's where the growth happens and the change happens.
I want to pick up on something that you actually mentioned, and it's to the two of you. It's about the song "Make It Work." That it starts very gentle and very sweetly, and then it becomes this very propulsive and strong song. Was that song always planned that way, or it grew into that? John Legend wrote the song,
And I
right?
think, yeah, and I think that when David's explained it before, he's spoken about the fact that John went one direction with that song, and he wanted something that was more driven, more not fighting, but combative in the sense of working to make something happen. And he went to go see him to explain that to him, and then John came up with this rhythm for "Make It Work," which is kind of a working song. You can feel it, like powerful ancestors and ancestry inside of the song and stuff. And then of course Anika just knocked it out of the water and stuff, and made you like really feel the emotional drive, because it's a really pivotal point, that working thing, that moment before we come together again, sort of push that she's going to make that happen, and I'm trying to make that happen in some way, and then when we finally do come together, it's actually really delicate. It's like this really big, powerful drive, and then when you get into the scene together, it's almost like so delicate that you're scared that you're going to break the spider webs, or you're going to break the eggs or something. That we both so much have such a need, to be able to love again each other and be in each other's lives, and it's like you don't want to make that. You want to breathe too harshly. You're scared that if you breathe too much, or if you step too forward, that it might all disappear. So that song like drives us to actually have to, we did the work to have to face each other. You know what I mean, in a way. And so it's actually it's really complicated, but beautiful thing to get to play out of singing those songs, that massive song.
And I think that one thing that's so brilliant about it is that the way that it is written, I'm having my own journey, and Jeronicus is having his own journey. We're both having these separate journeys in order to meet in the middle. And yes, it is an actual work song. You can hear like the blacksmith hammer hitting the stone, the clunk and the clunk. And it represents the work that we all have to do in our relationships, whether they are platonic or romantic. And Jeronicus is also working on his toy. So there's so many meanings in it. And I actually, the first time I sang it, the first verse, I didn't sing as full throttle, because I was thinking that they wanted something else. And then David was like, Anika, it's okay. You can go ahead and put some stank on it. And I said, absolutely. so freed by that. Because, as Forrest was just explaining, when you're meeting with someone you love to talk about something that's delicate, sometimes you have to get all that other stuff out before you get to the conversation. You have to figure out how you have to map your journey before you get to the conversation, because if you open your mouth and speak thoroughly from your emotion, from all those things that you're feeling before you get there, you're not going to be able to get anywhere else, because there's so much hurt embattled in that, and anger and whatever else that's happening. So this is working out what's happening before we even get together. And we get together and it's like, oh, there you are. And we're sort of even taking care of ourselves, of each other in that moment.
You alluded to it, but I just want to clarify. So you both were singing live while you guys were filming?
We recorded that in the studio beforehand, but when you see me working on set, somebody asked me about this recently. When I record on set, when we're shooting it on set, I always sing live, because otherwise you don't, for me, I feel like you don't get the energy of what's happening if I'm not singing it live. So we did pre-record it, but if you were on set, you would hear me going full throttle the whole time, because that's the only way for me that I can give you the emotion and give you the notes, and it's going to actually look like I'm singing because I'm singing.
Yeah, I was. That was another pre-record for me too. It was my other songs I sang. I was lucky, or I don't know. It happened where David did them live. You know what I mean? Without the music. There were small moments sometimes, like the one between actually me and Anika, where I just say, it's like, maybe I can hold you tight, and tell her life is full of love. Maybe I can show how light refracts and rainbows float above. And maybe if you laugh, and then I say, I'm just waiting for your smile, basically, you know. And then those moments and over again, I got to sing live. But Make It Work was still live, but with music already, with us having been in the studio too.
Mm-hmm. And Forrest, when you were here in Santa Barbara, you talked in 2007. You talked about having studied music and wanting to be an opera singer, and so it didn't come as a surprise to me when you started singing in Jingle Jangle. But tell us how how did you prepare? How come you haven't done musicals before? How come you gave up on your your singing career?
Well, I mean, yeah, I was trying to study and I decided I could communicate better maybe with acting. But I did a song with Jennifer Hudson in a movie called Black Nativity once. And that was like a preacher. But I wasn't like this where you break out into song. I don't know, people hadn't asked me to do it, and it was a great challenge to get a chance to get the opportunity to do it, to try to do it. It's just unusual because when you sing with such strong voices, like people that have such powerful, beautiful voices like Anika and stuff, you really want to try to make sure you can at least not make that fall down in any way, because they're offering such a great thing, and there's a great opportunity for me to work hard with a vocal coach and to try to get those moments right. And then I just looked at it as deeper expressions of the action of my acting, and I get to a point where, like in that scene where I'm trying to figure out what to say next. And the only way I could say what I really want to, what I'm really feeling, is by singing those words, that could only express like just the true emotions inside, So it was a great journey for me, actually.
And Anika, for the whole movie, the costumes by Michael Wilkinson, they combine the Victorian silhouette with African culture. Can you tell us, how that felt for you to be in wearing those costumes? The significance.
I loved it. I think Michael Wilkinson is brilliant. The fact that African fabric was woven through these Victorian costumes, only made sense to me because people existed in those times that were not in chains. Black people existed that were not enslaved. And that's not the story we ever see in that time period. And you have to think that if you are in that time period, this is before Sears. Sears really revolutionized clothing that you could buy from a rack or a catalog in certain sizes. Before then, people had their clothes made or they made them themselves. So it only would make sense that these people would have clothes with pieces of their history as part of the clothing. And it allowed the colors to be so vibrant and stunning and beautiful. And one thing that Michael and I had talked about actually in the beginning, he had some amazing costumes for me and I loved them, but he sort of had them in mourning colors. And I was like, Michael, I love these, but she's not mourning anymore. She's not mourning the loss of her dad. She's sad about it when she, goes to meet him, but it's been years. She's raised her own child now. She should have colors that speak to the joy that she's been able to find there. Because no one mourns forever. And he was like, okay. And he came back with this fuchsia and that mustard and these stunning, stunning colors. I would put on anything that he made at any time. And I feel like he had a real appreciation, not only for the fabric and the history of the people that he was dressing, but for the bodies that he was putting them on, because everybody there was a different shape, a different size, and everybody looked like they were made for the period and the clothing that they had on. He is really, really amazing in the way that he can do that. And Sharon Martin, who did hair, what was beautiful in this world of fantasy, in this Victorian world, I'm so glad to see when you see Black people in that space, you're now looking at them with their natural hair. And it's done in Victorian style, but with African style weaved in there. So all of those looks were pulled from pictures of historically African styles and mixed to fit that time period. And that's what happens. That's what people do. That's what the journey of, immigrant growth is all the time. You're bringing yourself with you. And I thought that both of them did that in a stunningly beautiful fashion.
And Forrest, for you, the look of how did it come about that, to me, I love the way you look because it reminded me a little bit of Santa Claus, this, and and also Scrooge. Were you involved with how Veronica's was going to look?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky I got a chance to go. I went there really early. I was there like 3 or 4 months early while David was preparing and stuff. And so we had like this discussions about costumes and about which ones were the right style for the character and stuff, and about hair, looking at this sort of Frederick Douglass, Albert Einstein
yeah.
combination of hairs. And so we kind of fused those together and yeah, and the robes, the jackets and everything with this kind of influence from the sort of whimsical other films, like I guess that expressed that whimsy and wonder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So we did a lot of talking. We were able to come together with a character or create this sort of new person, Veronica's Jangle, that would hopefully have some kind of mythic, magical, or alchemic qualities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Which actually leads me to my point to Anika about like one of the things that I found so touching about your reconciliation with your dad, that it's ultimately science that is the conduit that brings you together, and that is just so refreshing in a film that science is actually what brings a father and a daughter together. Were you struck by that when you when you read the script?
You know, I don't think I thought about it so much when I was reading the script, but I do think that in life you must find the formula that works. And that is such a great personification of that. And I think that what's beautiful is that when life was good for them, she was a scientist because he was a scientist. She loved math and creating because he loved math and creating. He passed that on to her. She assisted in creating Buddy because she was able to, and that was the language that they spoke together. And I think in families, all families have their own language, and within that, people in the families have the languages that they speak with each other. You know, like siblings speak a different language to each other than they speak to their parents. It's not something written down or like you need a dictionary for, but there's always some way of communicating that is specific to them. And this was our way. And I think it is the thing that allowed them to come back together in a way maybe that words couldn't have allowed so completely. Now, had he not said, I'm sorry, had he not apologized, we maybe wouldn't have gotten to the point where we could have even gotten to the science of the thing. But the fact that we were able to then sit in the silence of that space and in our love and put something together as we put ourselves back together, I think was so beautiful. And to be able to pass it on to my own daughter. And we very rarely think of women in science, in spite of Marie Curie. You know, we don't think of the women when we think of science. And there are brilliant STEM girls and women out there making amazing changes in our world right now. Actually, Madeline is really, really good in science and math, and it's something that she excels in, which is exciting to me. So it's great to be able to put that message into things and let people know, not only can you be good at love, at family, you can also be good at the science of a thing or the things.
Mm-hmm. And for example, I need to ask you about this noble fight scene that is it's remarkable when they start singing and dancing African songs, Bisa Kadeh. How did that come about, and how did it feel to shoot that sequence?
It was a lot of fun. You know, I think that it kind of came as a brainchild of one of the producers, Lynn Talbot, really wanted to create this snowball scene in this sort of area of fun and stuff, and to bring in that music with her and David brought in this African beat that like was a kind of a homage, and like where we get a chance to like really let's like express ourselves. And I think it's probably one of the freer moments in the whole movie, and so that's kind of how it came about. And then we just had fun with it, and it combines fun again with, like, as Anika says, this connection that we have like with technology or with mathematics and stuff too. But it's about love, and first time that we like are finally able to relax together as father and granddaughter and really connect and like live in joy. It's one of the first times that you get to see that. And I think the music inspired that. Then playing that Afrobeat throughout the town of Norwich in London, you know, it was like probably one of the first times that it happened. And I think it really showed the kind of, what do you call it? Afro-Elizabethan, I think, vibe that they were going for.
I loved it when you started to dance. It made me, my whole face broke open in a smile. It made me so happy. It was so free. It was just really lovely to see.
Yeah, actually, there's a few moments. I'm glad you brought that up, Anika, and you articulated that way. There's many moments that went forward as just it's just so delightful to see you actually be having fun. And there is one particular moment when Mrs. Johnson is singing Miles and Miles, and the backup singers appears, and you saw backup dancers, and your timing was just
no, it's really, I really love that relationship with Lisa with Mrs. Johnson. I mean, it was kind of, you remember a cartoon called Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
There's a skunk and he's always chasing after this cat and he wants to seduce her and he's grabbing her and that was kind of like part of like the internal workings of me and her's relationship. I was trying to escape her through most of the time and she just grabbed me. So finally there's one Pepe Le Pew where the cat actually gives in. He's like, okay, I'll just like put some thing. That's kind of what happens. He's like, okay. I'm here, like, let's kiss. You know?
She's terrific. She's a British musical
Yeah, she's
theater
a British
actress.
Yeah, she was really so talented. In this, you know, and I remember we were like just doing the rehearsals, just trying to get the dance, and her and the backup dancers were doing these amazing like moves throughout the shop, and I was just trying to figure out how I fit in it, and it was just, I don't know, it was an unusual relationship, you know, that there's like a little understanding that kind of seeps into it. And he kind of like say, you know, like he would miss it. Like when he goes to her, he says, where are you? I've been looking for you all day. You know, I don't know what to do. And it's like, he's acting like he doesn't want it, but when she disappears, he's desperate almost, you know? So and Lisa Phillips plays that character, did a beautiful job. And it was kind of a beautiful arc, small little arc inside the movie where we finally get to sort of be together, and it's kind of nice.
Yes, terrific. I do, before I forget, I have to ask you that I see a Wakanda sticker on Veronica's luggage. Can you talk about that? I actually had to freeze it.
Yeah, you know what? It's a little cookie, like it's like left there for everybody to see. David decided to do that because he felt that my character, Veronica Jangle, was a guy who'd been traveling all over the world and seen all kinds of things and learned so many things and magic and his traditions and everything were there. So he put that little gem for you to find if you can in the movie and stuff. So it's nice. It was a little touch that David put in.
No, I thought when I first saw it, I thought, am I imagining this? And I had to rewind and pause, and there it was. Yeah, um, Anika, you know, tell us about working with John Legend and Philip Lawrence and this incredible song, Make It Work. You obviously got to hang out with them, right? And
I did not get to hang out with John in London. And so our main producer on the song was Harvey Mason, who I actually worked with in Dreamgirls. And Phil was in the room, I think, while I was recording it. And it was me and Phil and David and another producer named Davey. And the song itself, to me, it felt so good to sing. It's so rare that I get to sing in that place. You know, mostly I'm singing soprano, which I love. We're singing in a different style, but for me to be able to get this song where I get to access the bottom it just felt so good. And to have someone like John, who is so brilliant, he really is a brilliant composer. And I think his spirit is so much older than his person. You know, this song, we talked about it being a work song, and I mean a work song from back in the day. But he's managed to mix this active work song with the ancestry of being African American, with rock, with gospel. It's all in there. And you don't know how long I've been yearning to sing a rock song. So when it turns into that rock situation at the end, I'm like, yes. But I love good music. And the thing about that song is that it makes you want to sing. It makes you want to sing, and your body, well, let me speak for myself. My body was attuned to that music, and I could feel the song in my person, like coming up from the ground. And I love when I get that kind of a gift in studio, to work with someone who is just so attuned to what he's doing. And a good person. John Legend is a good guy. Phil Lawrence and I worked on some other music, and he's also amazing. He's amazing. Like these two people, when David was asked me if I wanted to do the movie, and I was like, yeah, sure, that'd be great to do a Christmas movie. That'd be fun. And he was like, it's going to be a musical. And I was like, oh, okay, well, who's doing the music? And he threw those two names out. And I was like, well, absolutely. Absolutely. Who doesn't want to work with those people? They're at the top of their game. I think John Legend can put his hand to any type of music because that's the gift that he's been given. I think Phil Lawrence is also expansive as a musician. So working on John's music, working with Phil directly in the studio, he is such a giving person and an easy person to work with. You don't always get that in a studio situation. And he was quite lovely. The both of them, I would work with them at the drop of a hat at any time on anything that they were interested to work in. That's how good it felt to do that.
Well, you're terrific in it, and Forrest, your song "Over and Over," which is it's just wonderful. Can you tell us about that song, and were you scared about that moment? Did you get to sing it live? Tell us about the shooting of "Over and Over."
Well, it was a beautiful song because it really like exemplified all the kind of loss that he had. I mean, over and over and over again, I think of my life and what it might have been, how much I might have achieved. It's the sadness. And so actually I went up to the tried to find the emotional space for the character in that scene, and I was supposed to sing it, differently, but what happened was we started shooting the scene and the emotions were going forward, and David was like, no, like, don't stop. And there actually wasn't any, we didn't use music. I just sang. I continued because he didn't say cut, and I was like in such an emotional space. And so it was live there with me and the people, but I was kind of lost in the thoughts of just what it means I've had that feeling, where you feel like you lost everything, and can't get it back, and I wanted to express that honestly for the audience, for myself, to live in that kind of a truth, and so I just did it, and the song was an extension of like my feelings and my pains as the character of Veronicus during that time. And David decided, because of that was happening, to just shoot it live, and then it just turned into what you saw.
And then and all the special effects, and you even get to fly, and are those things that were just arduous, or do you found delight in
I was a little nervous at first, like learning how to fly, I hadn't flown before. And they put you on the thing and just go straight back and forth, and I was just trying to get that and figure out how to flip. And then they start doing a 3-dimensional thing and around the room, but it's fun because I can say I got to fly now. It was a lot of fun, and all of us got trained. And I think Felicia and of course Madeline and all did it. And it was in the scene. It was in the scene where I guess again you pass by realities and you go into like, we found our dreams, and Anika and Madeline are both like singing out and saying, no, it's magic. No, he's a robot. He can talk, and he can fly. So it was great. It was fun actually.
And the little kid wants to know about Buddy and the design. Did David ever talk to you about? I mean, I just love that it was the sort of allegorical aspect that is the heart that has been missing. He puts it in. Am I reading too much into that?
No, that was the thing. I mean, this was representing like he lost his heart and lost his thing, and when he finally is able to give it back, find that and bring it back to him, then he comes alive. and he believes again. I think this notion of like finding your heart, what's true and honest, and emotions, and then also believing, needing to believe um, for that to manifest. Because Veronica's in actually when Keegan Michael Key's like steals him and he can't get him to wake up because he doesn't really believe in him. He doesn't really believe in his heart, and he's back. And then my daughter we like are trying to build him back up, build him again, and create him again. And that again is like us like trying to believe in our love again, our thing again. And then our granddaughter comes in, or her daughter comes in. And I'm like there, and then there he is, and if like the last moment, the last thing you have to do to make it work is to put the heart in. And there's that moment where you're not sure, do I believe enough? And if I doubt our love and our family and our hopes and our dreams, then it's not gonna work. And it worked. And then like crazy buddy like opens up and starts talking, and it brings joy to everything.
Yeah, well, it is a very special film, and it's much needed joy that it brings us. And I congratulations to you both, and thank you so much for being today with us here. I wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays to both of you.
Yeah, Merry
Thank,
Christmas.
same to
Yeah,
you.
thank you
Great.
guys.
Thank you for having us. It's great.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay.